Hi, I'm Seamless, and this is the 36th 75K tutorial, and I just realized I have no idea who requested this sound. It's okay, I'll find him, and it'll be in the title. But the sound is this Zomboy sound from his remix of a Delta Heavy track. I also forgot the name because I don't have any of the information on, because I'm a smart person today. This is the sound. And this is what I got. Another mediocre attempt, but whatever. My downfall for a lot of these is that I'm trying to be clever about this. And by doing it in a way that you might not immediately assume it's done. And instead of just doing it the way it probably is done. And it's just complicating things for no particular reason. But I actually think this is kind of cool, the way that the sound was made. The original sound was probably made with FM. I'm pretty sure it's a layer of some kind. It could, like, the filtering could be done in such a way for it to do what it's doing. You can kind of see, like, there's like the movement here, like that is very bandpassy looking. Could also be a high pass, whatever. But you can also kind of see how, like, there's these harmonics that are creating the metallic, like the metallic sound. They're very straight. They don't really look like they're moving with the filter. In fact, parts of it here look like it's just straight up overlapping the filter. So, like, that's what makes me think it's a layer, which makes a lot of sense because that would be really hard for that manipulation to stay straight whilst having filtering on it. Doesn't mean it's not a layer. I'm just saying it's most likely a layer. It really should have been a lot easier than what I did, just because the layers that you would want to have here are just your pretty standard, wow kind of bandpass filter, and then you want to have some wacky harmonic content, which you can very easily generate with FM, and also with Harmor, which is what I'm doing here. And you could also do this with Razor, I want to point out. But what I elected to do here is that I have one layer that's this, which I keep trying to. Oh, I see, it's freaking moving. Great. Okay. Well. Let's try that right there. A little bit better. I want to point out that, first off, this entire thing is one octave higher than base level. This isn't a base level patch. And I might also notice there is no actual sub happening here. And this is because the original sound has a little bit more going on than just your average separated sub, which is to say that your lower harmonics are their own separated business, independent from the actual mid-range sound, but they are following the mid-range sound. And in this case, it's actually not following the mid-range sound. At least not much. It's mostly kind of doing its own thing. I think it's just actually raising kind of the whole thing. But point being is that it's a bit more independent than your average layered separated sub goes. So that's why I just elected not to care about that. Yeah, and it is a whole octave higher, which isn't immediately obvious. And the reason why it's not immediately obvious is because at first you hear it, you go, okay, cool, that sounds off like a square wave. But then you do the square wave, and then you do all this processing I'm about to explain, and it sounds too sharp compared to the original sound. And that's just because it was a lower octave. So, neat. Now, this first layer, it's regular bandpass. I have distortion on, but without the distortion, whole big whoop. Not a huge difference from the distorted. That. And then this guy, it's still actually doing quite a lot in terms of contributing to the sound. It's not really doing with what I posited is what's happening, which is to say that it's a static harmonic layer versus the moving filter layer. This one's still involving filtering. And what's happening is I'm making heavy use of the harmonizer, and I'm putting it post all the other things. Although I think I have the phaser. Yeah, the phaser is after it. I'm also modulating the phaser. The speed is off, and the offset is being edited by the X wheel. A lot of stuff's linked to X. The filter's linked to X. The phaser's linked to X. And I think also volume's linked to X. Yeah, volume's linked to X as well. Because, again, this was supposed to fade. Originally, I did approach this as being the way I described it, as being a layer of harmonics and a layer of bandpass motion. And so this was going to fade in and out on top of the thing. Anyway, that worked out so well. So, let me sort of demonstrate what's going on with the harmonizer just on a naked thing here. So, typically, your regular harmonizer usage What it does in Harmor is that it accentuates particular parts of the series going on depending on whatever settings you set. And I say accentuate because it's not actually adding harmonics. It's highlighting particular harmonics that were already there and attenuating certain other ones. But it's still the same harmonic series. So the way that it does it is that it takes the lower harmonics and then it pastes it onto higher harmonics, and then those are the ones that get, pumped up. And this is all according to the matrix here. Now you might be thinking that we're trying to get a sort of metallic sound, which in the past I've said is accomplished by having enharmonic tones, like in harmonic tones, I should say. And this is you're making it so it's not perfectly in harmonic pitch, so that gives us this weird sort of off-color metal sound, and that would be true. However, really what we're talking about that is that we're accentuating particular harmonics and moving them in a way that don't make them sound like they're in the proper 12-tone scale, which is funny because once you get not even that far up on the series of harmonics, it's already like off of the series, like off of the scales. The multiples are really in between notes, and if you accentuate those harmonics, then you're going to bring out what feels like a not properly in tune harmonic, which is why this works. And if you combine this with a filter, at first not a whole lot of anything happens, but if you go to the advanced tab and move the harmonizer after the harmonizer will react to the filter as opposed to the filter reacting to the harmonizer, like so. So that's what primarily is happening inside here, is that there is a filter. I'm using a high-pass filter that's being automated together. I have a lot of resonance on it, which is giving it that bump, which is making it behave like a bandpass filter, but with subtle differences. I have a lot of unison engaged, but I'm using the Hertz mode particularly because it creates a profile that is not static like the regular unison modes, and that contributes to the smoothness sounding of it. Same deal. I'm using regular unison on this guy because why not? I'm using square harmonics, and then the harmonizer up where it is, and like this is just the default harmonizer. It's not really doing a lot, but if you want to have fun with that, you can also randomize the matrix. Which can lead to some cool ideas sometimes, or it can lead to pain and suffering. I apologize if that was too loud. The phaser is going on after all this because I'm kind of using it as like a notch comb filter, and that's contributing to the slight variation in the sort of the tone of everything, all of it. I'm still not super great at the kind of filtering that results in turning the basic bandpass into something a little bit more complex, which the Zomboy tracks have always been pretty good at using. But some of that is involved stuff like this, and maybe sometimes it works. It's a lot of stuff I still don't really get, but this one was a fun sound regardless. Anyway, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. This FLP will be available, actually, just this patch will be available for download in the description of this video. If you would like to make a request for yourself, please go to the Reddit thread linked in the description of this video as well. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and check out my Patreon page. And as usual, have a nice day.